You know, I'm something of a podcast myself. I'm something of a podcast myself. You know, I'm something of a podcast. I'm something of a podcast. I'm something of a podcast myself.
All right. Hello. Welcome to something of a podcast. The only podcast brave enough to say, I'm something of a podcast myself. I am Mike Gamms. I'm something of a co-host, and with me, as always, is the incredibly talented VonDoom. Say hello, Kai.
Hello, Kai.
And today is 420 something. Whether it's when this comes out or when we are recording, it's 420 something. So here we are. It is our 9th episode. How was your 420? Did you have an all right 420?
Yeah, it was okay. I didn't really do anything. I had a show, but I didn't do anything for the holiday.
Nice. Yeah, I was pretty low key this year too. Um, I did maybe go to a dispensary though to, you know, pick some stuff up. Always there's good deals, those 420 discounts. Um, but yeah, so I didn't really do anything too spectacular. Although I did tweet at exactly 4:20 p.m. on 420 that it was 4:20 p.m. on 420. So that was probably like my biggest accomplishment of the day, I would say. uh man. Um we got a couple topics I wanted to talk about. Before I got into that, I did want to ask, I forgot to mention, did you happen to catch the newest episode of the Gerard Carmichael show?
No, I
Uh
haven't.
yeah, it, it is it's something. I definitely recommend watching it. It I wouldn't say that it makes him out to be better or worse than it has before, but it's a road trip with his dad, who he has sort of a awkward kind of relationship with, and kind of had an awkward response when he came out. Not
Mm.
awkward, just not a good one. And Gerard, just briefly, all I wanted to say about it is that he like kind of confronts his dad about the way in which they responded when he came out, but like it's kind of like the most of the episode is him kind of surprising his elderly father with stuff and doing things kind of just like he's done with the whole show, like putting the camera in someone's face that doesn't necessarily want it.
Mm.
So it continues to be that same sort of thing, and it's just getting more and more what we already said it was. But it's interesting for sure, and that's all I wanted to say about that. Um,
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
yeah, it's worth checking out. I'm not sure how many episodes he's gonna do, or not. I know that, yeah, I'm not sure how many. It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't say. It hasn't said yet online. Yeah, yeah. So, anything else, or should we move into our first topic? I'm trying to think of the easiest of a good transition here. Uh, I don't know. You see any good concerts lately?
Yeah, I went to see Bruce Springsteen the other day.
Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
Yes.
Yeah, you went to Buffalo or?
I was at Syracuse University.
Oh, okay, the Carrier Dome or?
Yep.
Oh, nice. Are you like a big Bruce fan? I was curious. I seen a picture of you there with some other comics and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd say I'm a pretty big fan of Bruce. I grew up listening to his music.
Hell yeah. Had you seen him before or no?
No, this was the first time.
How was it?
That was amazing.
Yeah, I
He
have a
performed for like 4 straight hours. It was insane.
yeah, that's what I've heard. And he was just sick recently, because Larry David gave him COVID, or whatever. As his cameo in Curb this year. But yeah, I actually I have a Bruce Springsteen tattoo. It's not
Oh, do
because
you
I'm
really?
the biggest obsessive Bruce Springsteen fan. I do certainly really like the boss. I think he's great. Um, I just thought it was really, really funny when I was younger. I have a Born in the USA tattoo with the Grateful Dead, like Uncle Sam from the song US Blues, because both of those songs are like critical of America and like people don't understand that. So it's like ironically Born in the USA because the lyrics of that song are not about like
Yeah.
what dumb people think they are. Just like all these right wing politicians have used Born in the USA or tried to use Born in the USA as their entry music or just music
Yeah.
at their rallies and stuff because they have a gross misinterpretation of lyrics. People
Yeah, I think
often give
that's
me
why he
that.
doesn't perform it live.
Oh, he didn't do it.
Mm,
I see. Interesting.
yeah.
Uh,
My
so
Born in the USA shirt every 4th of July, and
yeah,
some idiot old white man is always like, hell yeah.
yeah, for sure.
It's like,
I
girl,
am now that idiot old white man, I get to be if I see you on the 4th of July. Um, but no, I really love Bruce Springsteen, but I get so what's funny about that having Bruce Springsteen tattoo, like I have it right on my chest. It's a it's a big one, and it's like an Uncle Sam, and it's like um either the wrong people like it for the wrong reasons, or people like think that I'm a certain that kind of person because they also are doing the thing that the dumb people do, which is misinterpret the lyrics of the song. Or maybe they just assume that I am. I can't, it's like, but that was the first tattoo I ever got, and it was like 15 years ago. So I've had Bruce tattooed on my body for a long, long time now. Um, and I did go to school briefly in New Jersey for a couple years, and I did go to the Stone Pony where Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band got their start. It's like this kind of dive bar in New Jersey. I think it's Point Pleasant, New Jersey. It's no Asbury Park. Sorry, Asbury Park, New Jersey. It's like now become like an iconic, sort of venue or whatever. But it's just a dive bar. I went there a long time ago. Um, but yeah, I think that Bruce Springsteen is both uh is underrated while also being overrated at the same time, even though I think he's really great and fantastic. I think he could possibly be both of those things depending on the person who's talking about him.
Yeah, for sure.
Um and something else I want to talk about with Bruce Springsteen is I've kind of I think I like Bruce Springsteen now more now than when I got his words tattooed on me. Interestingly enough, but I've yeah. I wanted to talk about the E Street Band and Little Steven.
Mhm.
What's his? I'm blanking on his last name right now. Oh, Stevie Van Zandt. Steve Van Zandt, who's the guitar player for the E Street Band. He was there, right?
Yeah, cast member of The Sopranos as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
getting at. Is so you got to see Silvio Dante play guitar
Yeah.
um, at the Carrier Dome. That's pretty cool. Was he dressed like? Did he have the Silvio Dante hair? No, I know he didn't. But
No, he wears like a
yeah,
like weird bandana.
yeah,
Yeah, he had
exactly.
like
He's
this
like
whole
a cartoon character in his own right.
yeah.
So what's funny about to me, well, funny about relationship with Springsteen, my feeling on it, and particularly when it comes to Stevie Van Zandt, is that the reason why I kind of didn't I liked them less when I was younger and when I was like way into dad rock because I thought Stevie Van Zandt was annoying. And now I've since watched The Sopranos like almost 20 years later, and I'm like, um, I like Springsteen and the E Street Band more because Stevie Van Zandt is in the band. But I used to think he was annoying. I don't know if you've ever heard he has a radio show that's on FM radio. It's on every Sunday. It's like Little Steven's Underground Garage. And it's been on like certain radio stations, like one in like every city you'll have it. I think it used to be on the old CMF in Rochester, but it was on every Sunday, and he would come on and be like the most pretentious guy with his like deep cuts, and he had that voice. And when I was a kid, I thought he was the most not a teenager, I thought he was the most annoying guy ever, and it made me like Bruce Springsteen less. But then and it's part of the reason probably one of the reasons that kept me from watching The Sopranos is I was like, I don't even like that guy. He was like my least favorite part about Springsteen. But then I watched the show and was like, oh, he's actually really good. And then I've like learned more about him and watched more of his stuff, and I kind of like him. But that's super cool that you got to see Bruce Springsteen. I'm really jealous.
But yeah, it was a really good show. I had a great time.
You said he played for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Is there like an
There's
intermission
no
or
openers or anything. He just played the whole time.
a set break or
No.
dang, that's wild. That's like what I've never seen Bruce Springsteen, but I did see Paul McCartney, which is, kind of similar, I guess, but not, and that they have like a long catalog, and he played for like, yeah, 3-4 hours as well. I think it was about three, no breaks, just powers through it, which is pretty impressive to me. But that's cool. I'm glad you got to see the boss, and yeah, so you had a good time.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite? Do you have a favorite song you played? Like a favorite one that was like particularly good live or anything?
It's probably cliche, but I guess Born to Run. I really like that song.
It's a great song,
Yeah.
classic song. I do like, yeah, I like that song a lot. Um, yeah, and both two members of that band were on HBO shows. One being Cameo and Curb Your Enthusiasm, and the other being Sopranos. So, uh, they're both comedians, and I guess comedy actors, you could say, something of comedy actors. Uh, so I also, unless you have more to say about Bruce Springsteen,
No.
I also went to a concert this weekend, and I told you that, but I told you that I didn't want to tell you what I saw yet because I wanted to surprise you and see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, it
Over
makes me
the
nervous.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, I think. So over the weekend, I went out in Ontario County in Canandaigua, and I went and saw, I think that maybe the world's only full band, cover band, tribute band to Mac Miller.
Oh, okay.
Interesting, right?
No, I like Mac Miller. That's
Yeah,
not
that's what I figured. That's what I mean.
embarrassing.
That's why I was.
I
No,
thought it was gonna be somebody embarrassing.
no. I mean, the concept of it is, to me, is kind of is interesting, and the scene itself is interesting, to say the least. Like, it's not a. I don't know like tons about his music. Actually, I went like with my friend, but like whatever you're picturing of the type of crowd that would go to see a Mac Miller tribute band in like the year 2024 in rural suburban Western New York is what was at the show. um I've
Yeah.
never felt like, I felt really very old being there, even though I'm not that old, because I was kind of doing the math in my head, right? We've gone over this a few times. You're 92, I'm 87, right? So Mac Miller
Yeah.
kind of really came on the scene in like 2011, right? That's when his first album came out and stuff. And so I'm thinking if you were 11 when he first started coming out, 12, 13, right now you're in your mid 20s, and that's like early to mid 20s, and that's what a lot of the crowd was. Or he was already out when they were growing up. The people that like grew up on him as a kid are 10 years younger than me, like a lot of them. So there was a bunch of people there that were like 22, 23, and I felt like that I was one of the oldest people there for sure. Um,
Yeah, I've seen Mac Miller live a few years ago, and I kind of felt the same way that I was a little bit older than most of the people there.
yeah, where did you see Mac Miller?
I'm at Governor's Ball in New York City.
Oh, okay, cool. Obviously, I was gonna say before he passed. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I
And that was what 2006,
think
I think
18.
18. Yeah, he is when he passed. But yeah, he was born I think the same year as you. He's this 92
Yeah, we were
also.
the same age. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a 92er. So, um, it's interesting. So I don't know a ton of Mac Miller's music, to be honest. I know who he is and I'm familiar. And I actually saw him live and worked with him and met him in 2011 when his right before his first album came out, when his that mixtape was just out. And um and then he like sort of blew up after that, and he was really nice, but I wasn't like super familiar with his music. And um it was good though. But it was interesting. Like I'm but Mac Miller is very interesting to me because I had a feeling that you probably liked Mac Miller because you seem, yeah, I had a feeling. Um, but it seems that Mac Miller is like one of the few exceptions to the kind of like white rapper thing that they don't people don't respond to Mac Miller in the same way that they would respond to almost any other white rapper out there. Is that right? Or what do you
I
think?
don't, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I feel like the only white rappers that really get a lot of flack are like Jack Harlow and Macklemore. Other than that, they're pretty accepted. Like most people have Eminem on their list of like best rappers.
Yeah, I guess I just mean
And
it.
like if
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say if you most of the white rappers I can think of like Mac Miller, LP, Eminem, the Beastie Boys, like most of them are pretty accepted. It's just like the Jack Harlow and like the Macklemore, those are the only ones I can think of that really get like universally clowned.
Hmm.
If anything, I would say being a white rapper makes shit easier for you.
Well, yeah,
Because
for sure. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, you just have to be mediocre and people are gonna be like, oh my God, this guy is the greatest rapper of all time.
Right. I guess I should be more clear. I think these people are all like accepted and successful in the like sort of mainstream, I guess. But what I'm sort of meaning is kind of accepted by, like, just because something's popular and is accepted by like the mainstream and by like white culture doesn't mean it's like not cringe or like considered like if that makes sense.
No,
Like
I
if
wasn't talking about white culture or mainstream. I was talking about in general. I don't really talk to white people about rap. I think I've said this to you before, so I wouldn't
right.
know who they really accept. But like in general, I don't like, I would say the people that like black people make fun of, like most white rappers are pretty accepted, I would say. It's like it's not really cringe unless you're just like I said, like Macklemore, like he's a joke. Jack Harlow's kind of corny. But if you're decent, people aren't really gonna, I don't know. I can't think of too many white rappers that are like cringy. I don't think Mac Miller is like the exception. He's definitely one of the better ones, but I don't think he's like the exception.
Interesting. Um yeah, that's interesting. I sort of like, I guess, uh perceive things like differently, I guess, but not necessarily. I've not paid that much attention to it. Um, I guess in my life for like a long time, almost all white rappers have been like clowned upon. So I guess
Like
I don't
who?
know. I've just
I guess I just don't really know that many white
I
rappers.
don't know. Post Malone, isn't that one? Or like
I don't know.
what's that one? Jelly
Mm,
Roll? Is that some guy? Or like
I've
MJ
never heard anything bad
MGK?
about Jelly. Oh,
Or like um I don't know, just like um yeah, okay, interesting. Um okay. It just is interesting to me, I guess.
yeah, it's like they're not gonna be automatically clowned just because they're a white rapper. You have to be like white and corny. So like I said, for every MGK, there's a Mac Miller. For every Macklemore, there's a like LP that people are still fucking with. So much to my
Right.
dismay, I think there's too many white rappers. They need to get out of here. But generally, they're
Right.
pretty accepted.
I see. I also sort of mean too, like there's a lot of like aspiring white rappers too. Um see that's different. But
I don't know anything about them people.
oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
just like you meet people who are like you did just say just like rap, and
Oh,
I've
like
met
people like the guy from Boulder last night.
I
Yeah.
mean as one of many, many, many examples I've seen in my life of like white rapper dude, like, it's but yes, like that guy for sure. Um, I don't know. I guess it's to me it seemed like it was cringy. Not necessarily I mean my opinion cringy, but like that I perceived it as being considered
Well,
cringy.
I didn't know you were talking about just like random white dudes that you meet being like, yeah, I'm a rapper. I thought you were talking about people like on Mac Miller's level.
Well, yeah, I mean I kind of talking about all of it. I guess part of just like white rappers in general. Um yeah, but it's yeah, yeah, I guess. I mean, in my like experiences, a lot of people have like, said that like, white rappers are like culturally appropriative and like not
Oh yeah, for
cool
sure.
and stuff like that. So that's like more what I mean. But then like the same people that not the same people, but often I feel like I was just trying to the point was just that Mac Miller seems to be someone that people tolerate more, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, he was pretty respected. Like, I've never really heard people say anything bad about him.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, but I was mostly like people watching, which was really interesting to me. The people watching at the Mac Miller show. And it was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Sorry,
and
I was gonna say
go ahead.
I don't have a lot to talk about with the white rapper discussion, and I feel like we should move on to the next topic.
All right,
Sorry.
go ahead. No, you're good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted to talk about the AI chatbot that's playing a
Oh yeah,
reality TV show. Yeah.
it's the
So,
circle, right? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Are you familiar with The Circle at all? Have you ever seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I was like reading about it, and it's interesting. Yeah, tell me more about it.
Okay, so it's kind of a similar concept to a show like Big Brother, where it's a bunch of people all in the house together, but they're all like in individual apartments. They're not allowed to leave the apartment or go to other rooms and see the other contestants. They communicate through a kind of in-game social media. So they all have screens in every room where they can like go into private messages or have group chats with all the contestants. So they all just communicate through screens.
Do they
So you
interact with
can,
anybody in person?
no, well, not until you leave the game or it gets to like the end of the game, they all meet up in person. So let's say we're both playing the game. You could like play as a person named Mike and have all of real photos of you and use your real personality. But I could like use pictures of Ryan Gosling and say my name is Steve and then make up this whole personality and you would never know because we're not speaking, like we're not video chatting, we're not allowed to do that. We can't like speak with voice at all. It's just all over text and all on these screens. So this year, what they're doing, like typically they do have players who choose to play as catfish like that, but this year they introduced an AI chatbot character. So what it is they like chose this I think this comedian like let them his photos to use. So it's this guy from LA. I forgot his name. I'd have to look it up again.
Yeah, I seen that. Wasn't someone I had heard of, but yeah, they used this like
Yeah.
photo. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have like the bot has like a bunch of photos of him to use. So if someone's like, "Oh, send me a picture of you," he could just send like this one picture of this guy. And so he is allegedly an AI chatbot that's just like playing completely autonomously, which I don't believe. I feel like knowing how AI bots work, there has to be someone at least feeding it information or like
Yeah.
kind of making sure it doesn't say anything too out of line. But
I read an article that said that it was I think it was an article maybe you sent me. They in part of it it said that they're like coaching it along the way and
yeah.
constantly making tweaks to it and stuff like that, feeding it new information.
Mhm.
Um,
So
had you watched the show before this season when they introduced the AI bot?
yeah, this is the sixth season. I've seen all five seasons
Oh,
before it.
okay.
The first winner is actually from Rochester.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Nice.
But um yeah, so it's interesting to watch because the AI bot, everything it says is super generic. And so the contestants were told after a while one of the players is an AI chatbot. And
I
everyone's trying to
see.
figure out who it is, and they'll be like chatting with each other, and before they make a response they'll say, "Oh, what do I say to sound more human?" And it's such a weird dystopian thing to
Because they're all trying
watch
to prove
because
that they're human and decide
yeah,
who's not the human.
yeah, so they'll just
And the robot
so
is
like if
too,
I
right?
yeah, the robot, I'll have to send you some clips, right? Because the robot will be like, "Oh, and it's like I think the voiceover that they add in afterwards is the producers. Obviously, this AI chatbot is not thinking out loud, but it'll be like, "Oh, a human is more likely to respond to a photo of a dog, so I'll make a picture of me and this dog my profile picture and shit like that." But like the actual humans will say, "Oh, I just wanted to say, hey, how are you doing? But that's too generic. That makes me sound like a robot. How do I sound more human?" It's very interesting to
That's
watch.
it. And so they're trying to, is the goal to determine who is the chatbot, or no, to just to see who's the
No,
last one remaining, right? It's like an elimination thing.
yeah. So the funny thing about this show, and even before they introduced the AI chatbot, because like I said, there are characters who have always played as like catfishes, who like it'll be somebody who's like unattractive and be like, "Oh, I'm going to like use photos of my hot best friend to try to like make people like me more." And the other people will try to find the catfishes, but that doesn't really affect the game at all. Like you don't
Hmm.
get a prize for finding the catfishes. It's just you're basically voting on each week, they're voting on who they like the most. So the most likable person in the end is supposed to get the money. But people have taken it upon themselves to be like, "Oh, let's find the catfishes and get them out of here." Which it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't really affect the game at all.
I see.
Yeah, so they don't get anything for finding out who the AI is. They just chose to go after it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just something that they want to and it's like you said, it someone, is someone get eliminated each week, or
Yeah, so they have to rank each other from most popular to least popular. The two most popular are called influencers, and they get to choose who's eliminated. So
oh,
when someone's eliminated, they could choose any random player and show up at their apartment to like say goodbye to them. So like if I think you're a catfish and I get eliminated, I might be like, "Oh, let me go to Mike's apartment to see if I was right about him being a catfish."
I see. So once you're
So it adds a lot
eliminated,
of
then you get to
yeah.
go. I see. So I guess the show's pretty lucky that the chatbot didn't get eliminated week 1 or something just by, you know, because
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I might have to check this out. The show seems pretty interesting.
it
Um,
is.
yeah. I was gonna say, how do you feel about AI? But that's a whole, um, yeah, we don't got time for that at this moment. But
Yeah, that's a whole episode itself.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I think we're probably gonna take a break shortly then, or yeah, but that's an interesting show, and I definitely want to check it out. Just some more to say about that before we take a break?
Um, yeah, I'm just gonna say this. I'm predicting it now. The AI bot is gonna make it to either the final three or the final four, and they're gonna have to because these people are so dumb. None of them detect it at all. So I think the producers are gonna have to step in and be like, "Hey, this is the robot. You guys couldn't figure it out in time." Because I
I
don't think
see.
they'd let the chat bot win because there's like a cash prize, and I think people would riot if this robot won the money.
Yeah, but that might be good for ratings. Who knows? You know.
It might, yeah.
But so we'll see if the show is leading to the rise of the machines or what happens. If we, yeah, if we make it out of the other side of the circle. It's on Netflix, you said?
Yeah, if you watch it, let me know if you think this is like legitimately AI or not. Because a lot of people think
Okay.
it's like completely just a producer playing the game
Completely
or something.
fabricated. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, um, all right. Well, I think we're gonna. It'll probably stop on us in any second now, anyways. Um, and then we're gonna go on break, and then we'll be back, and we'll talk about our top 3 stoner icons because it's 420 something. Stoner icons after this. All right. All right. Welcome back. That was something of a break, at least for me. I smoked a cigarette and flipped my laundry. I don't know if y'all took a break. Kai, did you take a break?
Yeah, I started thawing out some meat for dinner, which I need to get on soon.
Nice. Yeah, thaw that meat. Get dinner time. It's almost dinner time. That's good. Yeah, so this week, since it is 420 something, it's 423 today, April 23rd. When this comes out, it'll also be 420 something. And I was high last week, so my thought was, let's talk about stoner icons. So our topic this week, in honor of the 9 days, 10 days that we observed 420 in my household, which is from 420 to 429. It's the season. Um, since we are still in that season, we're gonna go over our top 3 stoner icons. And I said stoner icons, which I guess includes characters or real people, or it's kind of a little more vague, and that not vague, but more open in that way, but not limited to just characters or real people. And even though characters are played by real people, so some choices might be you pick the character or the person, there's plenty of different options we could do here. And now it is officially 4:20 p.m. while we are recording. So that worked out pretty well. It's 4:20 something. It's 4:20 o'clock. And we're gonna start our top 3 stoner icons. Um, so I'm just debating on which one I want to go with first. And I'm gonna go with the one that is probably my favorite, personal favorite. And we have seen this stoner icon in at least 8 movies, I think more if you count cameos. A couple TV shows, a cartoon, video game, comic books, all kinds of things. And I, of course, not of course, but I am talking about Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, of the
Oh,
Jay and
good
Silent
choice.
Bob duo. Yes, he's my personal
Yeah.
favorite. Was my first favorite stoner I ever had. When I first fell in love with like the whole Kevin Smith movies when I was younger. Those were like my first favorite movies where I thought it was like really cool because I liked, you know, these movies. And Jay was always my favorite. He is just so funny, so iconic, and um, like literally they play Bluntman and Chronic in their cartoon, like in within the show, within the lore, like the character the character is such a stoner icon that in his own universe he plays a character named Chronic who is a superhero in a movie. Like it that's how and it's that's not just like that the guy that Jay Muse, the actor, plays that, but the character is that. That's why I picked the character instead of Jason Mewes, because even if Jason Mewes is sober, which I believe he is, Jay is not, and he. To me, he normalized being a pot dealer. You know, he took away that stigma. You know, and just this song, 15 bucks, little man, put that shit in my hand. If the money doesn't show, then you owe me, oh. Like it's just perfect. Yeah, that's okay. So that's what I wanted to say about that. What do you said you liked that choice? What are your thoughts on that? And then also, what is your pick?
No, that's a great choice. I almost had that on my list, but I thought it would be too. I was like, he's definitely gonna also have this on his
Yeah.
list. So I tried
Mhm.
to be a little different, but some of the choices I went with were also pretty obvious. Like the first one I gotta go with is probably my favorite. I have to go with Silas P. Silas, played by Method Man in the movie
Oh,
How
how
High.
high. Yeah.
Yes. How High is basically like the ultimate black stoner movie. And as a kid, you watch it, it's funny. And like obviously we love Method Man and Redman, but when you rewatch it as an adult, you see just how smart this movie is. So in case you haven't seen How High, there's two friends, Silas and Jamal, who one of Silas's friends dies, gets cremated, and they end up smoking his ashes, which is
Right.
the most ridiculous plot. I love it so much.
Yep.
And yeah, so his ghost is able to communicate with them through smoking these ashes.
But only when
And
they
they
smoke
use,
the ashes, of course.
yeah, only when they smoke the ashes. Yep. And they use that to cheat their way into getting into Harvard and doing well at
That's
Harvard.
right. That's right. Because they use the ghost to cheat. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I haven't seen it in a minute, but I definitely seen it a bunch uh, of times. Yeah, that is no, that's great. They made a
And the
sequel
movie has,
recently, didn't they?
oh yeah, the original movie has like so many great takes about like white privilege and being a black person at a PWI, and it's just such a smart movie. And then the second one completely ruins everything
It's
by
terrible,
just
right?
this horrible, terrible, like trashy movie. It's not even so bad that it's funny. It's just bad. Like I think it had Lil Yachty, and I don't remember
I
who
see. It's more
else.
recently, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of a lot of different people that are in that movie that make, different roles, smaller parts and stuff. Like my
Yeah,
birthday
there's a lot of
twin.
great cameos.
Yeah, my
Mhm.
birthday twin, Essence Adkins. She's in there.
Yeah.
A bunch of people. Yeah, How High? That's a great choice. Yeah, so or not How High, Silas P. Silas, which was Method Man's character, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And so similar to like how I picked Jay and not Jason Mewes, went with Silas and not Method Man, because the character
Yeah.
itself is even more like of a stoner specific icon than even Method Man, right? To you?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Like every stoner has a Wu-Tang poster for sure. But How High is just iconic. That role is iconic. And I went with Silas over Jamal because he's the main character and he does a good job of playing a straight man, but like funny. Not straight man
Mhm.
in the sense of not gay, but straight man as in like,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
the
In the story,
yeah,
like, to the comedy.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and our boy Mike Epps is in there too, you know.
Oh yes, love Mike Epps.
Oh, wait a
I
minute.
gotta rewatch
Oh,
this movie
I
today.
gotta
It's so
rewatch
good.
it today because I also just realized that my girl Melissa Peterman is in that movie too.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
she hosts this like game shows now. She's on game shows a lot, and I watch. She's like, yeah, she hosts this show, Person, Place, or Thing, that I watch like every day with my aunt. It's really great. She's cool. Um, so that's yeah, that's interesting. Oh yeah, that's right. And they have the dean at the school. His name is Dean Kane.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the
Like
super
Superman.
turns like
Yeah.
all right guy, but yeah, Trumper, now Trumper,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um, but yeah, no, that's a great pick. I know I gotta watch How High again. For sure. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, one more thing about How High. My Judah Friedlander also has a cameo in that on the
Oh
bicycle. You
yeah, I
remember? Yeah, he
forgot.
pulls up on the bike. That's my boy right there. Judah, yeah. How High and Silas P. Silas. Great pick. Cool. So should I go with my next choice then?
Yep.
All right. So this one is also gonna be someone that is like one of my personal favorites, right? And so my second pick also it isn't what you would say call an overt stoner. You don't necessarily
Okay.
see them smoke weed
Okay.
off
Interesting.
occasionally, but not in the main canon of this character's existence. But this character has been in at least I want to say 3 live action movies, about 20 different cartoon TV shows, at least like 50 cartoon movies, and just countless his appearances and everything. Um, is friends with Batman, and also had the one scene I think that I've ever seen them smoke weed was with my previous choice, Jason Jay from and I'm talking about my pick for stoner icon is Norval Rogers, aka Shaggy, my boy.
I knew you were gonna
Scooby
pick
Doo.
Shaggy.
Yeah, because he's not technically a stoner, right? Technically,
Mhm.
you do not see him smoke weed in the cartoons. In the
Mhm.
normal Scooby Doo canon, he does not smoke weed. But he is like the most stoner coded character ever. And it's clearly like he was my favorite from the get go. As a kid, I loved Shaggy from Scooby Doo. I used to draw him
Shaggy
as
is
a
the
kid. He's
best.
my favorite, one of my all time favorite characters. Um, Casey Kasem was the voice of him forever, who is just like the best. I still listen to Casey Kasem. Like
Icon.
if I hear him on the radio, because they do those sometimes on some stations on Sundays or something, they'll do like the classic countdowns where it's like on this day in '82. I will sit there and listen just to hear Casey Kasem, the original Norval Rogers, to talk about it. And then Matthew Lillard is just
Oh,
incredible as Shaggy. I
icon.
love it. I love it.
I love him.
Yeah, he's great too. I love him also, and just the way in which he eats. I used to draw him all the time when I was a kid. I could never draw, but I would draw him with these just big sandwiches, because I used to know how to draw, like, not you, I mean, you could draw two buns and then whatever food you could stick in the middle of it, just like the
Mhm.
giant Scooby-Doo sandwich. And the last thing I'll say about him is the reason that I said he's in the scene with the previous person I picked, Jay, which is, if just in case anyone doesn't remember, in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which was the first starring movie for Jay and Silent Bob, they had been just the bit part characters. There is a scene where they're hitchhiking throughout the whole movie, basically trying to get across country, and they get picked up by, I don't think they ever use the words because of copyright, but they get picked up by what is very clearly Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and in the Mystery Machine, and they end up pulling out some doobie snacks, and I just and it's just,
Yeah.
I will always remember that, like, the doobie snacks and them getting high in the back of the car, and I think Velma takes her shirt off or something. Like, it's like
Yeah.
it's spinning in a Magic Carpet Ride is playing by Steppenwolf. Like, I remember the scene exactly because it's two stoner icons colliding in one scene. And
Mhm.
so yeah, that's my pick. I am a big Scooby-Doo head. I like the
Mhm.
Scooby-Doo Batman crossovers. I like the Scooby-Doo
That's
cartoons. I
so
like
good.
live action. I just love me some Scooby-Doo. So that's my pick. Thoughts on that, and what is your next choice?
Uh, I love that. There's actually supposed to be like a Scooby-Doo and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover coming out, which I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I see your excitement. We gotta rent it and watch it together when it comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
That's a yeah. I'm a turtle guy
I,
too.
oh yeah, I love TMNT. This is so perfect because your pick just teed up my second pick so well. I had a backup just in case you were gonna say it didn't count because this character is not technically a stoner.
Okay.
But this character is another cartoon character, iconic. We all grew up with her. Not as obviously stoner coded, but I think she is. And I'm going with Daria Morgendorffer from
Mm,
Daria. Yeah.
hell yeah. Okay, yes, that is, I get what you're saying. But yeah, for sure. I agree with all that. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's like it's just her and her clearly gay best friend just like sitting in their basement watching like TV all day. Just like so just like laid back. Definitely like I said, very stoner coded. They're like these two artsy girls just sitting around watching Sick Sad World all day. It's clearly like for me, for me as like a teenager, that was the first time we really had like teenage girls who were just like, those like kind of lazy, like fuck the man, like we're
Mm-hmm.
artsy, we're wearing big combat boots, kind of stoner characters. And it was cool to see as a kid. Like I've always loved Daria. She reminded me so much of myself in high school. I was always like kind of snarky, sarcastic, like quiet kid who was like too smart for her own good, but also so anti-establishment that I know I'm not gonna make it anywhere. So like
Oh, that's a great pick. That's really good. I really like that because yeah, you're totally right. And if in today's world, if like Daria were to come out or something, um
Mhm.
if they could have back then, she probably would have, there would have been the scene of her probably sneaking and smoking weed or something. But it was a lot,
Oh yeah.
you couldn't really do that as like you can now. It was, it wasn't as often that um you would see like weed actually shown or referenced in stuff. Even
Yeah.
that 70s show just sort of does like they don't necessarily mention it, like they have like the cloud in the room or whatever, but it's like they
Yeah.
sort of
You
beat
never
around
see
the
them like
bush.
lighting anything. It's just
Correct.
like
They're
the
just, you
smokes
see
in the
them
room. It's
high. Yeah.
implied. Yeah. And I think like that sort of lazy teenager sitting around watching TV all day, that's like the stereotype that
Hmm.
you're supposed to imply that they're stoners. That's what I always thought.
Like I know that girl, like Daria. I know plenty of Darias. You said you identify with Daria to some degree, for sure.
Yeah.
And Darias were potheads for the most part. They were
Oh
stoners.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Especially hanging around with Jane and Trent. They
hmm
definitely
those
would
were
get her into
stoners.
it.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
listening to music and like making fun of everyone for caring about anything or trying it and stuff, you know?
Yeah, skipping gym to go smoke in the bathroom
Yeah,
or under
total
the
teenage
bleachers for
stoners, you
sure.
know? Um, yeah, absolutely. That's a great pick. Um, I'm so do you have more to say on that or
No, no, we could go on to your next pick.
yeah, well let me think real quick. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about Daria. Oh yeah, just that's yeah, I mean we said pretty much uh most of it, but I do Daria is such an iconic character just like overall for like the number of people, particularly like women in my generation, my age, that like identify so hard with Daria is yeah, it's yeah, for sure. I'm surprised that we haven't seen them try to bring back Daria like we've seen Beavis and
Yeah,
Butthead get brought back a few times. Which Beavis and Butthead
yeah.
is my favorite. Like I love Daria, but I was like more of a Beavis and Butthead guy. As
Mhm.
yeah, which yeah. Um. Okay, so so I guess it's time for my a third last pick. This one was really hard. I have like a lot of honorable mentions. I think originally I was gonna talk about Shaggy while I talked about Jay to sort of double it up, but I didn't actually do that. So I was like, oh wait, I have four on my list, but I'm not gonna do all like so. I'm gonna do one of them. But so other honorable mentions I have, not one of the four I had, but well no, I'll just say the okay honorable mention I had. We'll have to say is Cheech and Chong because they're just like the
Oh,
icons. If you're
they're on
gonna,
my
I won't
honorable
go
mentions list
into it.
too.
Okay, okay, cool. They're
Yeah.
also honorable mention. They like the movie Up in Smoke with the van catching fire. They're like
Oh, yeah.
songs. They normalized like stoner culture before it was cool. Like there was a longest time when they were the only like stoner characters that were like in pop culture to that way. So it's like yeah, it's super important to mention them. And that was my other one. I was gonna talk about them as a full one, but I did
Mhm.
Shaggy and Jay is separate. But it's so that's all I'm gonna say about that. Um, and then so my third pick comes with its own honorable mention as well. So because
Okay.
I think that they both need to be talked about together. So my honorable mention for my pick is Willie Nelson and my actual pick
Yes.
is Snoop Dogg. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and so they're they to me it's like okay, I did just do two picks again at once. I just those are all my honorable mentions in there, but Snoop Dogg is just the most iconic stoner icon to me of my lifetime. Like if you were to ask anybody in the street, like just a random survey of people, Family Feud style, like if you did the Family Feud question, who do you think of when you think of marijuana? Snoop Dogg is probably most likely going to be the number one. Like he is um, just the most iconic stoner from like it's so ingrained in part of what like you can't really separate the two to me at all. Snoop Dogg
Yeah.
and marijuana, they're just so intertwined in the whole culture. Even like boomers who don't listen to rap or at all or smoke weed, if I like showed up and I smelled like weed, they'd be like, hey there, Snoop Dogg, you know, like that's just like you know how it is. And the reason I mentioned Willie Nelson with Snoop Dogg is because I mean they're both kind of in that similar space, but to me Snoop really just like takes the cake more. He's in everything. He shows up everywhere. He's got so many cameos and he's just like he pops into every sort of like show and movie. He's just like and song he's just everywhere in culture for the last many years representing weed hard everywhere he goes. Like smoke weed every day, you know, like it's like the whole thing. But him and Willie to me are like very similar. They're kind of similar icons. And the reason I bring them up together though is just because I absolutely love the song that Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg do together, "Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die." Are you familiar
It's
with
so
it?
good. I love
Oh
that
yeah,
song.
it's
Yeah.
such a good song. It's Snoop Dogg singing, and yeah, it's just, the D-O-double-G. What else can I say? Um,
Yes.
he's just
Such a good
like,
choice.
yeah. hmm So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? Slash, what is your um last pick slash honorable mention slash the floor is yours?
So every time someone says Snoop Dogg, I think about, and this is such a stupid story, but when I was like a teenager, I went to go see Breaking Benjamin and Chevelle, which are two just like shitty, like early 2000s like rock bands. And when I was in line to see the show, this guy behind me goes, this isn't a Snoop Doggy Dogg concert. And that I don't know why that shit was so funny to me, but I laughed so hard.
Literally the thing. Like is
Yeah,
it wow. Yeah.
because it's like, okay, I also like Snoop Dogg. I listen to multiple genres of music. That's not an insult. It was like, why would I lie about listening to fucking Breaking Benjamin? Like, I would rather be at a Snoop Dogg concert. That would be so much
Right.
cooler.
You'd have been on the Up and
But
Smoke tour. Like that's how iconic of a, the tour, Up and Smoke
exactly.
tour.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to be allegedly seeing Willie Nelson live later this year. So we'll
Oh,
see.
he's
Fingers
on my bucket.
crossed.
Well, I've sort of seen him, but not fully. I seen him like hop on stage at a different show, like for a song, you know what I mean? But not like,
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
like a cameo or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, go
Mhm.
ahead.
Yeah. So both Snoop and Willie were in my honorable mentions. I'm just gonna like rapid fire my honorable mentions right now. So Snoop and Willie Nelson. I had Beavis and Butthead as one entry. I had Harold and Kumar as one entry.
Oh yeah.
I had Dale Denton and Saul Silver from Pineapple Express as one entry. That was like the big stoner movie when I was in high school, and it's still like so quotable, so iconic. Um, and my final choice is going to be someone who off rip is not going to sound like an obvious choice. You might be a little confused, but I can back it up from multiple
Okay.
angles. So my number one pick is Bruce Lee.
All right. Explain.
Yeah. So every black person likes martial arts, and every black stoner is going to put on a Bruce Lee movie. Like, if you ever smoke weed with a black person, it's a high probability that some Bruce Lee movie was playing in the background, or just the fight with him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar just on YouTube pulled up. So that is the one angle. The other angle is Bruce Lee actually was like a huge advocate of cannabis. Like
Mm,
before most people were, especially as like a martial artist, a lot of his peers did not support him on that. But in
yeah, as
his
an
book,
athlete.
yeah, in his book, The Tao of Bruce Lee, he talked about how like cannabis helps him with his training, it helps him with his focus. It like really shook that whole, especially in the 70s when he was active, it really shook that whole like misconception that stoners are like lazy and unmotivated.
hmm
He was saying, no,
Seems like this
actually, this is something
hardworking kind of
that's
guy.
yeah, he's talking about this is something that was like medicinal for me and that I need to help me with my workouts. And he would go to parties just with like just before people were even carrying pre-rolls, he would like come with just like a ton of pre-rolls and like pot brownies just to hand out to people. Like that's what he was known for at parties. So
Nice.
I
That's
think Bruce
pretty
Lee is
cool.
a good stoner icon as a he changed the game for how stoners are perceived in the media. And he also is someone that niggas love to watch when they're high.
Yeah. Um. That's no. That's a great pick. That was not what I was. I wouldn't have ever guessed that or thought that. But you mentioned the book. What is it? The Tao of Bruce Lee.
Mhm.
There's a good subsect of stoners that's one of a handful of books that they've ever read.
Yeah.
It's like it's I've know that book. I've heard of the book. Like people have
Mhm.
read like people read that book that don't read other books,
Exactly. And it flips back around to what I was saying in the beginning about stoners being obsessed with Wu-Tang. Like there's levels to it because Wu-Tang got a lot of them into the martial arts and especially Bruce Lee.
Right.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
even the black and yellow in their logo is a clear homage to Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Your first and third pick are, yeah, duh. I didn't I just am like you mentioning that now. But yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Because this sort of that archetype that you were describing, like the black stoner that watches Kung Fu, that's um
That's Silas. Yep.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Silas. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the how I that's Wu-Tang. That's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's good. And you had some good honorable mentions in there too. We had very like similar lists. You mentioned the Pineapple Express guys, right? What are their names?
Dale and Saul.
Dale and Saul. Yeah. See, I didn't have Dale and Saul as an honorable mention on my list. I had Seth Rogen as a
Yeah.
person because to me it was like because he's in so many other movies and he does a bunch of like he's much like Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg and
Yeah. I
Cheech and
definitely had him
Chong.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, all of
As
our
well as
honorable
the
mentions. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I had him and Wiz Khalifa, and then all the characters in the movie Reefer Madness.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. I thought it like there's some ones that are like like icon. We could have just like there, but we like to try to mix it up and bring in some different stuff. One other thing I have to mention that I forgot about Jay and Silent Bob is that that's where the song "Because I Got High" by Afro Man is on the soundtrack to
Yes,
Jay and Silent Bob Strike
yes,
Back. So
that's
just because
true.
yeah, the intermingling of our high icons, and I wouldn't say that Afro Man is a stoner. I mean, he is actually a stoner icon. Just that song is
Yeah,
so iconic enough that it's like the stoner anthem.
it
Um,
is. Yeah.
yeah. So
Also,
um,
I have to say about Snoop one time. The first time I was ever in a legal dispensary, it was in Denver, Colorado, and I bought the Snoop Dogg branded gummies.
yeah,
They
he's
had
a
me
tough
on my
one.
ass.
Um, yeah, so yeah, that's the thing. He was a pioneer in that sort of area too of being like branded weed merchandise and
Mm,
stuff like that. Also,
yeah.
I wanted to mention that eh, in part because it's what it's like to be a black person in America, but Snoop has been arrested several times for marijuana in
Hmm.
many different states and has had to basically at the front line of the fighting to legalize this because he's being constantly targeted and stuff for it too. So he and he still continues to be the weed guy, knowing that he's been continually getting like yeah. So um yeah, I wanted to mention that. Uh but yeah, so I guess what my list was I said Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, Shaggy, and Snoop Dogg.
Yep. And my list was Silas from How High, Daria from Daria, obviously, and and Bruce Lee.
And Bruce Lee. Nice.
Yep.
So we each had two characters and one real human, I think.
Hmm.
Nice. One cartoon each. We basically had, similar breakdowns there.
Yeah. It's cool how
Yeah.
they mirrored each other.
Yeah, yeah. We have like yeah, the brain waves or whatever.
Mhm.
Um yeah, so I think it's your turn to pick next week's topic if you have
It is.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a throwback to our discussion of the circle earlier and say, what are your top three robot characters in media? So it could be from books, movies, video games. Very, leave it very
Robot
broad, very open.
characters in
Yeah.
media. Dang. Okay. Wow, that is a good one. That is because there's a lot. Yeah.
Mhm.
What about real life too?
Oh, yeah, you could do a real life robot. I didn't think of that, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any that I could think of, but yeah, that's okay, cool. I like that. Robots. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
No, just watch The Circle and let me know what you think of this AI business.
Yeah, I gotta get caught up on that. I'll try to watch that. And we can check back in our robot discussion next week about it.
Yeah, and I'll catch up on the Carmichael show,
Yeah,
the
okay,
Gerard
cool.
Carmichael.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll probably be another new one by the time we record again next week. So
yeah.
yeah, so we'll see where that continues to go. But yeah, so I guess this is something of an ending. This has been something of a good episode, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, so we're yeah, I something of uh, 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 I was really trying there. I couldn't come up with a good way to end it with something of an ending, I guess is maybe the word I was looking for. Or this is
Yeah.
yeah, all right. So I've been like Gamms at Mike Gamms. It's something of a podcast at something of a pod on Instagram, something of a podcast on YouTube. Definitely give us comments, like, subscribe, hit us up. Kai, where can the people find you?
I'm Kai VonDoom. You can find me on Facebook at Kai VonDoom Comedy, on Instagram, Kai_VonDoom, and TikTok, Kai_VonDoom77. Get on that before the US government bans TikTok, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And all right, well, smoke weed every day.
You know, I'm something of a podcast myself. I'm something of a podcast myself. You know, I'm something of a podcast. I'm something of a podcast myself.